This is how to host a retreat, and I'm so excited to just drop in with you all. I feel like I've been on such a journey in the last 6 years with hosting retreats and just being an entrepreneur in general who is following my heart-led passion. So I started out being a full-time yoga teacher who was just really what I like to call a starving yoga artist. I was teaching at 6 or 7 different places. Most of my time was spent in my car, just driving around, listening to audiobooks from studio to studio. And I wasn't making much money. If you know anything about teaching in studios, it's usually not a very lucrative thing. Um, but I didn't really care. Like I just was running on spiritual energy and I was lit up by what I was doing every day. I felt my heart was in the right place and there was nothing more valuable than that. I drove a beat up car. It was a VW that had the paint chipping off and the AC didn't work, so I had to like roll the windows down. Um, the oil pan was constantly leaking, so I had to open the hood every day and pour new oil in. And I had several flat tires. It was just really a wreck of a car. But again, I wasn't rolling in the dough. I wasn't going to be buying a new car anytime soon. I was going to drive this one until it died, which I did. And on top of that, I wasn't taking weekends off or going on vacations like my friends. So there was this kind of like stuckness based on it was like following my heart, but I also felt stuck by it. And it was this weird thing. And I didn't care, but I also did care because I was so embarrassed about my car that I would park it in the back of the studio parking lot and walk to the door because I didn't want anybody to see what I was driving. Like my students to be like, oh, okay. Um, so yeah, it's this weird contradiction of things. And that kind of comes sometimes when we follow our hearts and are doing something unconventional. And I share that because that's very far from where I am today. And maybe you can relate. On top of driving in this old car, I had a lot of tension with my family. So because my mom really wanted me to work a 9 to 5, she had a hard time accepting that I was following my heart and just teaching yoga. She thought I was just existing and floating through the world, not doing anything meaningful with my life, where I felt like I was following something and growing every day and learning and challenging myself. So not even the people very close to you sometimes can't see what's happening in your inner world. And for me, that was really challenging. Like every single time I talked to my mom, we had this like tension between us, and it was really driving a wall in our relationship for many years of me just being this full-time yoga teacher. And she loved me, she cared about me, but she couldn't see what was happening under the surface, what was growing, what was happening for me by following my passion. And so this is a long roundabout way to just say that eventually I hosted an event that had almost 100 paying people come to it. It was a New Year's Day yoga class. And I'll never forget that my mom came up to me after the class and was so loving and excited to share with me that she was so proud of me. She was like genuinely, genuinely proud of what I'd built and the lives that I'd touched. And she said she couldn't believe that I was her daughter at that moment. And like, I could just cry thinking about it because that was something I never thought my mom would ever say in relation to my yoga business. So when you finally, break through and you find something that works for you and you keep staying the course, even the people that love you that might not understand will eventually come around, and they'll be there to congratulate you when you do make it. And so one of the big ways that I was able to make it in my career as a yoga teacher was through leading retreats. And leading retreats really changed everything for me. And that's why I am here to share this with you now so that you can have this amazing tool under your belt as well. So let's get started. You're in the right place today if you want to host an unforgettable experience and bring people together, deepening your relationships, growing a community. You want to grow your brand and your influence, or maybe just start a new brand. And you want to up level your capacity to lead. You don't have to have a huge social media following and go viral. You don't have to be doing this full time, whatever your passion is. And you don't need another certification or a special, any kind of certification to host a retreat. And you don't need to own a brick and mortar building and have a physical business like a studio or a gym. So, a little bit about my story. I traveled to Europe after I didn't get into the dietetic internship after my undergrad that I really wanted. So, I booked a one-way ticket to Paris and then landed in Bali at some point and stayed there for 3 months teaching at a retreat center. This is where I discovered retreats. And at this retreat center, I observed how participants would come into the room and be so much more open and receptive to the lessons, to everything that was there to be offered, because they had stepped away from their daily routines. They had opened their minds and were perceiving something new and completely different all around them. And that experience of travel was able to blend so seamlessly into the lessons and the transformation potential of the yoga practice. And that's when I realized, wow, there's really something to this. I would really, really love to bring these things that I love together, which is travel and yoga. And what better way than to let them amplify the benefits of each other? So you get to go and do this travel with a group of like-minded people. So you have a community, you have a support system, people to share these memories with, to keep you company and make everything more fun and exciting and silly, and also to support you in that inner awakening, that inner knowing of the yoga practice and going within yourself and unveiling things that may be limiting beliefs or keeping you stuck, keeping you in your own way from like reaching your highest potential. And then being able to overcome that and shine brighter and to bring more joy and love and peace into this world. So bringing the yoga and the travel together just became this thing that I really wanted to do. I didn't have any idea that it was going to be profitable. And then it was. And that experience of leading retreats really helped to kickstart my business that doesn't have a brick and mortar. I don't have a yoga studio. I never had to go spiral. I've never been viral on social media or have some huge following. I just learned to work with what was in front of me and go deeper into the connections that I had and offering the gifts that were already inside of me and the passion of what I liked and what I enjoyed to do. And now I get to offer all kinds of things because of this. Because I started here, I can host retreats anywhere in the world and people come. People come and I host yoga teacher trainings and anything I can dream up, really, I know how to fill the spaces for. I know how to get people interested. And a lot of that is just organically happening from the work and the things, the foundation that I've laid in the past. And now, from the mistakes that I've done, I've learned how to be really efficient in just doing the things that move the needle further ahead. So people make hosting retreats seem complicated. They really overthink it, but it can be really simple and it can be really fun. And there are just some small mistakes that I see here and there that can get in the way. So sometimes people will launch a retreat and they won't have a plan at all for the retreat, for their launch, for their dates, for any of the activities. They don't have a clear intention or a theme for what they want their participants to get out of the experience. They don't talk about their offering enough. They just expect people to sign up like the minute they say that this is what they have going on without being committed to showing up and sharing and talking about it. Because it takes a while for people to understand what you do and want to participate. And they might choose a location or a time that just doesn't work with the marketing plan. So if you want to host a extravagant international retreat and you're only giving people 2 months heads notice of when the retreat is, they probably have plans already. They might not be able to make that week work for them. They might not be able to budget for that. So simple things like this can really get in the way, but once you just know to look for them, it clears right up and it can be a lot easier. The shorter the retreat, the more local the retreat, the less time people need to prepare. 2 months is plenty in that case. And then lastly is just not having a clear goal for what you want to get out of the retreat, not knowing how many people do you want to have sign up? What is it that you want to get out of this? And having that clarity and making that decision is magnetic and allows the universe to co-create with you, to bring in what it is that you want. So the basics of retreat marketing or retreats are going to be, we're going to talk about marketing, finding a venue, and planning the actual retreat. I'm breaking it down into these 3 steps. First one being marketing. These are the order in which I would plan a retreat because you kind of need to decide some things before you even find a venue. And then the very last thing you're going to do is actually plan your daily schedule because you don't need your daily schedule to get people into your retreat. Your daily schedule is something that you're going to curate as you get closer to the retreat with when you have more and more information about who's coming and where you're going. And as you gain more insights, you're going to be able to create a better itinerary that's going to be really fresh and rooted in like what's alive and real for you in that moment. So one thing to note is if somebody is going to sign up for a retreat or for that matter, anything with you, they go through this process of the belief triad. They need to believe 3 things. 1, they need to believe in you. They need to trust you as a provider. 2, they need to believe in the offer. They need to believe that what you are offering is going to work. And 3, they need to believe in themselves. They believe that they specifically can benefit from what you are offering. If they believe in you, but they don't believe in your offer or in themselves, they'll be inspired by you, but they won't feel the desire to take action and work with you. If they believe in the offer, they might think, oh, that's great for other people, but it's not going to work for me. And so they won't take action either. So just something to keep in mind is the belief triad. And just know that you need to believe in yourself first and foremost. And when you believe in yourself, that conviction, it paves the way for other people to believe in you too. But it starts here. It starts within. So now we choose the basics for the retreat. You want to pick the high level details. So where is it going to be? What's the date and the time? And what is the theme of your retreat? These are the main things you need to get started. Your retreat can range from 1 day all the way up to 2 weeks or longer. My recommendation is that if this is your first ever retreat, you start with a 1 day retreat. Just start with a day retreat. Make it super simple for yourself. It's a much easier sell. You'll get the experience, you'll get warmed up, and then it'll be much easier to fill and to actually lead retreats that are longer than that as well. So get your toes wet, and then maybe you explore a longer retreat. Most common is probably 1 week, especially for international. But there's other times that work as well. And then, of course, choose your theme. So having a theme really gives people like direction. It gives them something exciting to focus on. It gives them like a North Star to focus their transformation on and like let their experience, be guided by that. You can have a physical theme. We just got back from Greece and we had a nervous system reset as our theme, and we focused all about the nervous system, and it was called the Anchor and Align retreat. So learning to like anchor into your nervous system, into your physical body so that your energy can be aligned with your highest self and take you where you're best meant to go. But you could also focus on strength building, mobility, flexibility. You can add an activity. It could be just yoga, but you could also do yoga and surfing or yoga and rock climbing or really anything. It doesn't have to be a yoga retreat, even. You can also have just an intention as your theme, like a self-acceptance or relaxation or self-empowerment. And you could also have philosophical theme. I'm a big yoga nerd, so I love the texts. I love the yamas and niyamas, the sutras. Love diving into some of the anatomy and koshas and chakras and subtle body practices. So I love to theme around these concepts and, really make it easier for people because yeah, just having that time on a retreat, you can kind of dive deeper into one subject and make it make more sense than trying to go into all of it in like a yoga class or something like that. Market research is a great tool to utilize once you have kind of decided some locations and times that you would like to travel for your retreat. You can use a poll or a survey to ask people in your community if they would be interested in this. What would excite them the most, whether it's just for the theme or it's for the location. It also works doubly because it gets people excited about what you're offering. They're like, oh, she put out a poll about doing a retreat. Where's her retreat going to be? I'm interested now in maybe attending this retreat. I'm curious about what she's got going on, and I appreciate that she's taken the time to consider my feedback, my interests. So it's really great. If you have social media, you can do a Facebook poll. You can use your stories to do a poll or a survey to your email list if you have one. If you don't have any of those things, no worries. You can just have in-person conversations when you run into people that might be interested or even your friends. Ask them what they think about these topics and if they would be interested in something like that to attend. So an example question would be like, what excites you the most about this retreat? Is it exploring the local cuisine, hiking to volcano peaks, meditating and journaling, or doing yoga every day? And find out what people are most interested in. And then you can post about it. You can talk about it. And now you know what to talk about, especially. So you want to launch your offering. Hey, this is happening on this date. And here are some um, details and like highlights of what might be going on and what our theme is. And then just stay consistent with that. Keep showing up, keep talking about it. People take time. They're not going to sign up the very first time they hear about it. They're probably going to want to hear about it a few times and really digest the information. And especially if it's your first retreat, you're probably going to have to talk about it a little bit more because people aren't familiar with you yet. They don't know that this is something you offer. And so they need to warm up to that idea. They may need to warm up to that idea. And then simply for your marketing, put together a little something, maybe a little flyer that has the details of your event. So just like the date, the time, the location, and maybe some pictures, a little bit about you if you like, maybe a sample itinerary, but just something simple that tells people what it is, and you can use that same flyer to hang in a coffee shop. You can put it in a newsletter. You can post it on social media. This is so nice to have because it's easy to share, and somebody can send it to their friend, who can send it to their friend, and it's just a lot easier than some ambiguous post with like a long caption. And you might be thinking, where are people going to find me? Well, there are a lot of people out there. And if you're passionate about something, you're not the only one. Someone else is also passionate and wants to dive into this experience with you and travel to this place with you, even if it's just a local one day experience. So you can post your retreat on event platforms like Eventbrite, Facebook groups. You can make a Facebook event. There's also retreat platforms such as Retreat Guru, Book Yoga Retreats, other social media, Instagram, Facebook, like just posting. People can find you there. And you can also hang flyers or get on newsletters for different studios or gyms, community centers, coffee shops. I've gotten retreat signups from a flyer I posted in a coffee shop before. So it's definitely possible. All these things can work. I don't really do any of these things anymore just because we have so many people in our community that have been on retreat that come on retreat again or want to bring people that our retreats generally fill up without needing to use third party advertising. But all these things can work. And if you're just starting out, it's a great idea to get started. You can also be published in magazines or on blogs and just reach out to your local publishers to see um, which ones might be interested in posting about your event. You can also partner with other organizations. So if you don't know, like you don't already have a community base, you can work for someone else. You can build a retreat for a studio or a local shop, or even you could do a corporate retreat for a company. Um, or you can partner with another guide of some sort. Maybe it's if you're a yoga teacher, another yoga teacher, or maybe somebody in a similar field to you. Maybe it's a nutritionist or a massage therapist. Things like that can go really well together, and you can bring your expertise together. And having community, more support, tapping into each other's networks, like this is a really great way to get started and be very supported and offer a lot of value. And finally, for your timeline, you just want to be mindful to give time for people to contemplate this experience. Don't throw it out there and expect them to sign up right away. Give some time, more time for a longer retreat, less time for a shorter retreat, and have an incentive, something that makes them think, there's something on the table here. If I need to decide by this time, this deadline, and I can save this much money. And that is an incentive to make the decision, to choose themselves and do the thing that they really want to do instead of hanging out in limbo and not sure if they want to do it or not. So that's been very effective. Most of my retreats sell out on an early bird special, and the early bird is usually not even expired by the time that the retreat is full. Wait lists are also good. You can start collecting people's emails that are interested way ahead of time, but I wouldn't even worry about that for your first retreat, but that's just something to keep in mind for the future. And do a free thing to sell the paid thing. So a free info session is very welcoming, and people can come and ask questions. And once they get to know you and just get a feel for what you're offering, it's much easier for them to sign up and to like understand who you are and what the value could be. All right. Now, moving on to finding the perfect venue where you're actually going to host your retreat. Again, if it's your first retreat, I just recommend doing a 1 day, a local retreat, and keeping it simple for that matter. And choose someplace that you're genuinely excited to go. So whether it's traveling far away for international, or it's like somewhere local in your hometown, like choosing somewhere that the space feels good to you. It feels like it's going to be conductive to the theme of your retreat. The size of the venue is going to work for the number of people that you are expecting and wanting to bring in, because you might want a small container, intimate, or you might want something larger, more social and energizing. It really depends, and I do both, and I have my loves for both of them. And just checking on the accessibility of the venue. Is it something that's going to be easy for people to get to? If it's an international retreat, try not to be really far from the airport. Try to be kind of close by. And if it's a drive for people, try to keep it in a reasonable distance from where you want to be based out of. So for a local retreat, it's ideal to have, a day or a weekend long retreat. For a domestic, it's good to do a long weekend up to a week. And then for international, minimum 5 nights, because people need time to just settle in after the travel day on both ends of that retreat, the arrival and the leaving, the departure. So ideally, 7 nights is a sweet spot for international retreats, but the further the distance to travel, the longer you want the retreat to be. So I'm hosting a retreat in India. and it's going to be 10 days instead of 7, just to have a couple extra days to get used to jet lag and to make the most of being where we are. For your venue options, if you are doing the day retreat, the beginner, then you could use public park. You could do a community center. A studio or gym will often have a space that they will rent out for retreats if they can accommodate that. That's definitely an option. And you could also even rent an Airbnb if that's something that would be if there's a space that you'd love to do a day retreat. For a weekend, you can do again Airbnb or VRBO. You can do a retreat center at this point. So when you have overnights, there will be retreat centers, and there seem to be more and more every day. So there's lots of options. You can do a Google search to find a retreat center. I just look for ones that have good reviews and are in the locations that I want, and they will take care of a lot of things for you. So I highly recommend retreat centers because they'll handle the food, the accommodations, and you can focus on being in your craft and doing what you love and connecting and just like being in joy and having a good time with everybody on the retreat. You can also utilize hotels or do campsites. And same with a week or longer retreat. A retreat center is highly recommended, but you could also utilize Airbnb in a hotel. It will just take a little bit more logistics to plan that out. So, some key considerations for your venue is you want to look at the accommodations, get familiar with like how many beds do they have? Do they have the right size of the number of participants I want to bring into this experience? Do they have an event space where I'm going to be able to do my yoga classes or my nutrition seminars or whatever it may be that you're offering on this retreat? Is there a dedicated space for that? How is the dining situation? I like a community eating experience. So whether that's just like a big communal table with a buffet or everyone has plated food at the same time. I'm just not a fan of when everyone like gets their own food at their own time. They just order it randomly. I feel like that feels really disconnected, and mealtime is such a good time to connect, such a beautiful celebratory thing to do all together and share in meals. And our last retreat in Greece was so beautiful in that we had just like traditional Greek food and we had it family style in the middle of the table, and we just would share and everything. And it was really a highlight of the day is just having our communal meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and enjoying that all together and talking about the day and what we'd done and what we'd learned during that time as a group. And then any extras, if there's hiking nearby, is there a pool? Is there a lounge area with hammocks or anything else that might be helpful for your retreat? And finally, we have planning. This was probably my favorite part of hosting a retreat because this is where you get to co-create with the universe, tap into your gifts, your intuition, and then pull out of your heart like whatever feels alive and real and wants to be shared with this in this experience with this group of people. There are some concrete things that will be really helpful, some do's and don'ts that we'll go into here now, but just know that this is also an intuitive practice of listening to your heart and really being open to allowing the what's needed to come through and what's needed to happen in the schedule because things will pivot and change to come through you and to be let yourself be creative and how you handle that. Um, yeah, a retreat is just it's such a beautiful experience and most of the work comes before. So most of this planning can knock it out in like uh, a few sessions of planning, but once you get there, now you're just playing through the plan. You're just like going through the motions of this art piece that you put together. And it can be so rewarding and so fun to see the fruits of what you've created come to life. So just some mistakes that I see I've been guilty of in my first retreats. I definitely offered too many activities at first. I felt like I had to just offer everything under the sun. I wanted to make sure everyone got whatever they signed up for, but there was no downtime. So too many activities and not giving people a chance to rest and digest and be at peace and ease because at the end of the day, most people have busy lives. And this is an opportunity for them to, yes, do yoga and travel and experience something new and different and learn and grow in some way for whatever your retreat theme is. But it's also an opportunity for them to relax a bit and retreat. Not having a proper opening and closing of the retreat container. So, starting and an ending to really set the tone, to break the ice, to get everyone familiar with like the flow and what's going on and answer any questions they have. And then the closing to really reflect back on the experience and to give a space for people to share about what they learned and what their takeaways were and all the little moments and connections that were made. This is one of my favorite parts of your retreat is just to listen in and hear about all the magic that has unfolded in so many different little corners and crevices and conversations all coming to life together at the retreat end. It helps people to integrate and take this experience back home a little more securely. Um, I've seen host retreats and not have any special activities for personal growth or connection. I say this is a crime to just take this beautiful opportunity where you have people out of their daily rhythms, out of their daily responsibilities. Here they are, open and ready and receptive to exploring something. And now you're not offering anything special outside of just like, here's a yoga class and here's your meals and do whatever you want in between. It's like, oh, there's so many opportunities for growth here that can be really simple and easy for you to facilitate without even much planning. Okay, and then not being mindful about meals, doing too much activity when people are hungry, or doing too much activity after people have eaten. So just thinking about the rhythms of nature, sleep and food, and making sure things feel good. And then you also don't want a schedule that changes every single day if it's a multiple day retreat. If it's a 1 day retreat, don't worry about this. But if it's multiple days, you want to kind of find this rhythm of consistency. So maybe keep the meal times at the same time every day. The kitchen will also thank you and keep the practice or lecture at the same time every day. And then just change up like the additional activities is my recommendation. So things to be successful is to give that ample space for downtime, have worked in some free time areas and times specifically for people to have that and have that routine, as mentioned, of the same time practices and meals. Keep it flexible. Consider that some people are going to be more introverted and then some people will be more extroverted. Make things optional and ensure that there's a good balance of time to be interacting and time to be introspective because people will mostly want to do everything that's offered on a retreat. So you really have to step out of your way to make it clear that they can put themselves first and take rest if they need to, but it's better to just not overpack the schedule and instead have some free time where they can choose if they want to take that time to rest, get a massage, or if they want to go add on a kite boarding and or kite surfing. I don't know if those are the same thing, and hiking excursions. And then include those group activities. So have an opening, have a simple icebreaker that people get to know each other at the beginning, and then have just a moment to for people to share openly at the end where you don't have to actually facilitate anything. It's just giving a space for people to share. And you can have any kind of like little ceremonies or rituals. We usually do silent mornings on our retreats just to give this morning of quiet and introspection before the practice. And that's always a nice addition. And I also recommend doing icebreakers and things early on just to help people break the ice and build on the connections that they've made throughout the retreat. So these are some pictures from our Guatemala trip recently, as well as our Greece trip. And yeah, some just special moments like having a bonfire, sharing around the fire. The top right was a waterfall hike that we did in Greece, and it was hard. It was a challenging hike. It was very optional, but most people wanted to do it. And at the top, we sat and did a meditation on the elements and got to just have that like special kind of ceremony with the water and the air and the sun. That is just a little something that made that whole trip really special. Yeah, and then on the top left, we have a Mayan fire ceremony that was led by the indigenous family near the lake that we were staying on. And this was a beautiful, very emotional and connecting experience for all of us to have together. So you can also like hire people to come in and do ceremonies or things like that, especially if you feel like that's out of your wheelhouse. It's really great to just share in the wisdom of the places that you are visiting as well. So this is a sample itinerary, just like what a typical day could look like. You might start with meditation and then practice, have your breakfast, optional free time after that, or an excursion, have a lunch, and then free time again or excursion, optional evening practice or workshop, and then dinner. And generally, people just like to sleep after dinner, but you could do something really relaxed as well, like a yoga nidra, and have people like laying out on props and cozy and just enjoying the space without having to exert themselves. Here's a sample weekly agenda for a 5-day retreat that's based on the chakras. So each day would be themed around a different chakra. So you can make your yoga practice or your workshop based on whatever your theme is, just to like integrate something wider and more meaningful throughout the experience. You'll see that the yoga sadhana, which is the practice, is at the same time every day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are also at the same time every day. And there's a opening circle on the first day and a closing circle on the last day as the last thing, just to really set that container and create that safe space and time for reflection and integration. And then the rest of the time, there's some designated free time. Thursday is a free day on the schedule, so there's a practice, but and meals, but the rest of the day is just totally free, so that people get an option to take what they need, and that can work really well, especially if you have a larger group and want to make sure everyone gets what they need. So those are how to host a retreat basics, the marketing, finding your venue, planning the actual retreat. And yeah, this is just such an incredible, incredible and simple thing that you can do. It's really doable. It can be very easy. It's just about following the steps and putting it out there and seeing what happens. It also builds really easily. So, yeah, like the community that you can create in your retreat just naturally will kind of snowball into something bigger and more powerful, with more opportunities for creativity and connection and growth. And yeah, you are absolutely capable of doing this. You don't need any additional certifications. You don't need to reach outside of yourself for some validation or for some reason that you are worthy now to create this experience. You are already worthy now as you are to create this experience. In fact, the only thing that would make you more worthy is if you've done it before. And the only way that you can have done it before, sounds so weird, is if you have done it before. So you have to get started. You have to just do your first one, and then that's the only way you can get better at it. So if there's any hesitation in your mind, I just want to share that that's so natural. That's so normal. And sometimes the more you want something, the more resistance you're going to have to it. Because sometimes your mind is trying to protect you from the disappointment of not getting what you want because that's how much you want it. It'll just try to shut it down for you so you avoid that future disappointment. And I'll share an example because this happened to me recently as somebody who's hosted over 20 retreats, most of which have sold out. I went to announce a retreat this year, a local retreat, and I had this feeling in my stomach that no one was going to sign up. I remember thinking, this is the one that no one, not even a single soul is going to sign up for this retreat. They're not going to like my theme. They're not going to like where it is or the dates that I picked. There's just not going to be anybody that's interested in this. I haven't taught public yoga classes in like 2 years. So people have forgotten about me. They don't want to do this experience with me. Like all the thoughts, all of these thoughts. And I felt it in my stomach, but I launched it anyway. I launched it anyway because the Bhagavad Gita, an old yogic text, says that we have the right to go for it. We have the right to do the work, but to do the work alone, not to the fruits of our work. And when we work with the expectation of getting something for it, we spoil it. We zap the fun out of it. So we have the right to go for it. But we can release the expectation that we have to get something in return for going for it, for doing the work. And when we let go of the expectation, we let go of the shame that we might be holding that, oh, well, what happens if we go for it and we announce it and no one signs up? Well, isn't that all that happens? It's the meaning that we attach to our fear of failure that paralyzes us from taking the action. So we have to find a way to take action and let go of the expectation of the fruits of our labor. So I did it anyway. I launched it, and within 48 hours, it was almost sold out with tons of people. And I just laughed and I thought, oh, that's right. Doubt is not always right. The mind and fear are not always right. Very often, especially when we're reaching for our dreams, it's a self-preservation to avoid future disappointment. But we can't find out how good it can get if we keep letting that stop us from taking action. So let go of the fear. Let go of any shame about what happens. Just let it be that you went for it. And that's all that happened. And that's okay. So you can absolutely do this on your own. But if you feel like you want the support of a mentor, of a partner in hosting your first retreat, I can help you get started. I can help you launch and execute your first retreat or your second or your third or whatever retreat you're on. If you really want support, I am so here for you. And I have a program called the Entrepreneur Accelerator where I can support you fully through this process. I mean, fully. I can help you find venues to figure out your communication, your marketing, your all the things that you need to do. And usually questions come up when you get started. I'll be there. This is a one-on-one coaching program. So I would meet with you once every week or about every 10 days for 3 to 4 months. And we would talk about everything in your business. So not just retreats, but if that's what your focus is, we can stick with it. But we can also look at several different aspects of your business. So I have three key features to the one-on-one, which is the magnetic brand protocol. And this is where we figure out like what your brand mission is, your transformation, promise, and figure out really how to create your brand body that becomes your North Star so that when you have the clarity on who you are and who you serve and what you do, it's like the floodgates open and all the inspiration comes to you and you feel like you never run out of things to talk about because it's just so clear what you do and who you help. And it saves you a ton of time and energy and money just having a good message and good offers set up to make sure that your business is sustainable and successful. There's also the marketing enhancement method, and this is where we set up automations, things that can work in the background for you so that you don't have to constantly be on and avoid pouring money into things that don't work, like ads online that just suck up money and don't very rarely convert for these types of experiences. And actually grow organically and see what's really possible for your business. And then there's the strategic plan, and this is where I will help you specifically with like planning out your events and retreats and your specific marketing launch plan that will work for your business and your offers and make it really, really clear so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you want to launch something. We'll have a very dialed in and effective launch plan that is curated just for you. And you'll get to avoid making the mistakes that I've made and that I've seen other people make. And that's going to save you just a bunch of time and money and energy and save you from the frustration so that you can be doing what you love and feeling joy and loving building your business. Okay, so this is a one-on-one coaching program. You get 10 coaching calls with me over 3 or 4 months. And in between those calls, you get unlimited Telegram support from me. So you can send me messages. I can talk to you all day long about anything that you are feeling stuck on or you need help with. Like that's what I'm here for, is to be this mentor that's also sort of a partner in your business, that feeling of having that supportive partner that is a few steps ahead, that has been there and done this and knows what works and what doesn't. And you can send me newsletters, content that you want me to review. I can help you with your LLC, with your anything that you want to build around your brand and your business. I am here for that. Okay. And when you join the one-on-one coaching, you are also going to get the master's course, which is a self-paced video series that are lectures around all of these areas of your marketing message and your retreat planning and execution and creating your offers, and how to actually like hold and facilitate the space as a leader in your retreats and how to have like a good brand story that is compelling and speaks for you when you don't have to be there because it's that good. It's that clear. And everything that we do together in this is really aimed to set you up for a lifelong success in your business, not an instant success, a quick acting success, but something that's also going to be for the long run. And that is the master's course. And you get that when you sign up for one-on-one. It's only available to my one-on-one clients right now. So if you are even thinking that this might be for you, you got to sign up for a one-on-one consult. That is going to be a 1 hour call where we'll talk through where you are right now in your business or in your vision and where you want to be 6 months from now. And we'll talk through how I can support you in reaching that goal. If it's a good fit for you to join these programs, we'll talk about that and how I can support you in the sessions and in between the sessions to just get clear about that. We'll come up with a little roadmap for success for your business. And we'll see if we want to work together from there. So definitely check out the link to schedule a one-on-one consult. And I am excited to see what retreat you put together, what you learned from this. So feel free to message me and let me know what landed and how things are going, how your first retreat goes. And I can also fully support you in setting up your first retreat in the next 3 or 4 months and get it up and running. So let me know. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for joining this call. Much love.